time exclusive with a national treasure, Ina Garten, who's revealing intimate details of her extraordinary life in her memoir, Be Ready When Luck Happens. So you, in the book, Ina, decide to talk about your childhood.
I did.
Something you'd not talked about in great detail. Mm-hmm. And you start off with explaining, and I love how everything kind of goes to food and the feeling of food. And you said the scent of chocolate chip cookies baking triggered a rush of good feelings, like endorphins on steroids. But the home you grew up in, you said, I spent my early life searching, no begging for flavor. It was never about pleasure as a child. Your mother had a off-limits policy when it came to being in the kitchen. Mm-hmm. But you take us further into the personal pain of your father, the physical abuse that you described that you and your brother Ken experienced. You wrote, when he got angry, which was often, anything could happen. He'd hit me or pull me around my hair. Then, as if shocked by his own behavior, he'd leave the house or go down to the basement until he could control himself. Mm-hmm. When you decided to write those words, when you decided to go there, what was there therapy involved? How do you get ready to tell this and then do it?
I think it really takes a lot of help because there's this wonderful expression in child development: what goes in early goes in deep, and I had to sort out what was my voice versus what was my parents' voice. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the most important things in therapy, is that you learn that voice that tells you you're worthless and that you're never going to succeed is somebody else's voice.
Yeah.
And you have to almost really...
Well, you write that in the book. You write in the book that the critical words that you were telling yourself were in fact those words of your parents. But I think what I was asking is, now you're ready to tell this. Does that require, a few more therapy sessions? Does it go to Jeffrey and say, I'm doing this. I'm writing it for people to know. It's no longer speculated about. It's no longer, it's there.
One of the things I want to say is I wrote it for a specific reason, not because I had the worst childhood in the world. People have had much worse childhoods, for sure. But I just wanted, I didn't want it to be about my parents. I wanted it to be that if you've had a difficult childhood, and I think more people have had difficult childhoods than you care to think about, either absent parents or difficult parents, it doesn't, that story doesn't have to be your life story.
Yeah.
I think that you can decide to change that. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I was 15, and I remember thinking, if I was dating someone who so much just raised his voice to me, I was out of there.
Right.
And a lot of people make those decisions but don't follow through. Mm-hmm. They slide back into what was comfortable. Mm-hmm. And I never did. And unfortunately, I met Jeffrey when I was 16. Yeah. And he has literally, in the 60 years I've known him, never raised his voice to me.
Wow.
And he said to me, actually yesterday he said, I love everything that you do. And it was like, even the crazy things that I do, he loves them because he likes to watch me kind of bounce off the walls and come back again.
I remember when I was visiting, you said he made fun of your long commute to the set because your set is like a few steps behind the home. And at the time, he was taking the train somewhere.
Well, I think probably when you were there, he was the dean of the business school at Yale.
Yeah.
So he would travel 4 hours to New Haven on Monday and then come back on Friday. And I would have to walk from the house across the lawn to the barn. And he would call me and he'd say, how was your commute? And I would go, it was a little rough today. The rabbits got in my way.
Bumper to bumper rabbit traffic. You talk about
That's
also...
Great. I'm using that line.
You're welcome.
Bumper to bumper rabbit traffic.
You talk about that much speculated question about motherhood. And I remember, again, going back to when I interviewed you, before going in, the team said, she'll talk about anything, but don't ask her about
Did
children.
Somebody tell you that? Hmm? Oh, yeah.
They did. They didn't say it came from you.
No,
they
I
just
don't
said,
think it did.
It didn't.
Yeah.
But they said, don't ask her. And I said, obviously I won't. And when I learned that you were writing again about this part of your life and the decision behind it, I thought it was powerful because, again, we're in this world where women, no one should have to answer the question of why you are not a parent.
I totally agree, yeah. But I think that when I was in my 20s, when Jeffrey and I were thinking, should we, shouldn't we, I was very close to my childhood. it just happened.
Yeah, you met him you were both babies,
I
essentially.
was 16, 17, and we got married when I was 20. And I just couldn't, at that time, understand why people had children. I had there was nothing happy about my childhood. We didn't play games together. We didn't travel together. Nobody said, what would you like for dinner? Nobody said, what would you like to do today? It was all about work. It was all about studying and going to your room. And so I thought, well, why would anybody want to recreate that? Yeah. Now that I'm older and I see my friends and they have wonderful relationships with their children and it's about developing their skills. Yeah. It's not about imposing parents' will on children. I mean, it's changed a lot in 50 or 60 years. So now I understand it, but I didn't then. And I have to say, I wouldn't have the life I have now if I had.
Absolutely.
So I just...
True.
Jeffrey and I have a ball. We have so much fun together, and I love what I'm doing. So.
I love it. I love it. Well, coming up, we're going to dig into the love that is Jeffrey. The highs, the lows, and how Jeffrey, I love this line. Jeffrey views homemade brownies as the, quote, culinary equivalent of a low-cut dress. Irresistible and guaranteed to make an impression. More with Ina Garten after the break and her beautiful new memoir.
I saved Jeffrey's letters, every single one of them, so I know exactly what he wrote, and it still amuses and thrills me to read his words. Handwritten, remember those days? In the most beautiful script.
Welcome back. That was an excerpt from Ina Garten's new memoir, Be Ready When the Luck Happens, about the box of letters she saved from her adoring husband, Jeffrey. For over 50 years, we are back with Ina. So are you lucky in love? Was it because, people always say, oh, I had bad luck, and that's why I'm not in love. Is that luck?
That's about as lucky as you get, actually. I mean, how unlikely is that I happen to be visiting my brother at Dartmouth. I'm walking down the street. Jeffrey's at the library. He looks out the window, sees me, and says to his roommate who's studying in the library with him, oh, look at that girl. And I happen to know his roommate. In fact, I had a date with his roommate that night.
Oh, that's right. You're talking
I mean, how does that happen?
That's luck.
Total luck.
So, but the book is Be Ready When the Luck Happens. And
but
so
I
go ahead,
I'm sorry. I was going to say, I also recognized that when I met him, that he was just a happy person. Yeah. And that, so I had a bad experience and I had made a decision. And I knew he was the answer. I mean, I don't think I thought I was going to marry him. Right. I just thought, I just loved being with him. He made me happy. He believed in me. He thought I was funny and smart. And I came from a place where nobody thought that. Yeah. And so I recognized that my deliberate decision was really important, and he was the answer to it.
So the luck was there, the timing, but you were ready to receive that. You discovered in the process of writing the book a box at your parents' home when you were getting ready to sell it, which were the letters that Jeffrey wrote to you over the years.
The best letters.
Well, I have one of them here.
You have one?
No, not the actual letter. I wish. I'd be on eBay right now. No, in the book you have the letter, and he wrote at the time, if the idea of dating a Jewish freshman from Florida whom you have never seen doesn't repel you, how about dropping me a note and we could work something out? If you're not at all interested, don't even waste that stationery.
That's so Jeffrey.
Ina, the kids would say today, they would call that someone who has game. He's got game. Jeffrey had game.
And I remember getting that letter. He sent a picture of himself in the letter. And I remember saying to my mother, Mom, I got a letter from this guy, and he's adorable.
Oh. So it worked. So now everyone out there, copy that letter and give it to somebody that you're interested in today. Again, the special part of the memoir that we don't get from the stories in the cookbook are the challenges of marriage, like everyone faces. And you wrote in the book about those challenging times, people see you as relationship goals, but the reality is life is not a straight line and neither is love. And you talk about the pause that you all took.
So when we first got married, I was 20. I had come from a really difficult childhood. I mean, I did very well in the outside world. I had friends in school. I did well in school, but my personal life was really difficult. And I really see Jeffrey as having. He kind of brought me up in my 20s. He taught me how to be happy. He taught me how to be.
How does someone teach you how to be happy?
Just by being happy. And also, if we each wanted something different, he would always say, let's figure out how we can do both things. It wasn't about one person winning and the other person. It was never about who got to decide. It was always about respecting my wishes and his wishes at the same time. And that's really, I think that's very powerful.
It is a powerful love story.
And I mean, like when I wanted to buy the specialty food store, I was 30. I had a great job at the White House. Everybody was telling me I was insane. Like, why would you do that? And Jeffrey said to me, do what you love. If you love it, you'll be really good at it. And don't worry about whether you make money or not. Just do it.
Just do it. And she did it. And up next, Ina reveals what she's cooking up next for fans as we go to break. Listen, videos came pouring in from super fans who wanted to be a part of this show. And here are some of our favorites. Take a look as we go to break.
You inspired me to get in the kitchen and provided my culinary education as I worked my way through all 1,350 of your phenomenal recipes.
When I was young, my aunt would make all of our holiday meals, and she's now passed that torch over to me. And you'll always find your sausage and herb stuffing and roast turkey recipes on our dinner table.
Your recipes have become such a favorite in my house that they've become a staple, like your chocolate cake. My son every year requests I bake this for his birthday.
Thank you for showing us how to work hard while having the absolute best time.
Congratulations, Ina. Thank you. Can't wait to read your book.